Hello and welcome. I just recently had the distinct privilege of sitting down and interviewing Mr. Kishan Munroe. But who is he, you might ask? He is a globe-trotting artist and a self-proclaimed social realist who uses both photography and painting to document and depict cultural events in society. In this interview, I get to learn a little bit about the mastermind behind the very well-received HMBS Flamingo painting that won this highly creative, talented individual a Bohemian Icon Award in 2014. His work has been seen across the Caribbean as well as North and Latin America, earning the painting phenom a slew of awards and accolades. He took time out of his busy, and I mean very busy schedule to speak to me. His words prove thoughtful, incisive, wise, and sincere. So here it is. This is my exclusive interview with Mr. Kishan Munroe. Take a look. Okay, so Mr. Munroe, thank you very much for joining me to have this interview with me. I see that you define yourself as a painter, yeah? Is that, or an artist, or?
I define myself as an artist, basically a social realist.
Okay, artist, social realist.
I do more than painting. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I came to know of you by your painting, by your most famous work that I could find information about on the internet, and I can get to that real quick. But you are so how long have you been an artist or a painter, whatever you call it, artist, right?
Yeah, I've been basically dealing in the creative world from I can remember myself. Yeah. I come from a very creative family, so I was always in that frame of mind.
Right.
Deconstructing stuff, putting stuff back together, conjuring up images and thoughts and really learning to express myself. It's just a way of life.
So you knew from a young age that art was what you wanted to pursue. You had no doubts about that.
Yeah, we come from a very artistic country.
Yeah. So that was an easy choice for you.
It wasn't an easy choice, but you can't change who you are.
Did you feel like you needed to have courage? Being a college student, I speak to some people who have fear about pursuing art because they feel it may not lead to a job and all these other different things, and that it's not respected in the country. Did you feel you need to have courage to pursue your studies in art?
Definitely. I feel as though when you're really trying to find your true purpose in life, it's never going to come easily.
Right.
There's always going to be a struggle because society is going to tell you need to take the road that leads to success.
Yeah.
To get a government job, you do A, B, C, D, you get married, you have children, and then you die. After you get a mortgage.
I hate that, right.
But creative individuals, you need to think outside the box when you look at people who actually changed the world and have made a significant difference in the world. They took the road less traveled, and it's always going to be a little bit rougher, a little bit tougher, and sometimes you're going to be walking by yourself. Sometimes you have people to push you, and they're not necessarily going to be on the road themselves, but they know that there's something inside you that they want to push forward. So you'd have people helping you to get there, and they don't necessarily know how to get there themselves, but they know how to help you, how to support you.
Did you have a backup plan, or it was this must work? I must be an artist. I must be a creative individual.
As either you live or you die. Subconscious is limbo. So to me, there's no give or take. Is you live or you die. Either you're a creative individual or you're not. You're holding it back.
Right.
So I don't know when my warranty is going to end.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to live to see tomorrow or 100 years from now. So my goal is to live wisely.
Yeah.
To go sleep every day tired.
Right.
Knowing that I did my best. Knowing that I did my best to pursue what I feel my purpose is.
Yeah.
And so I actively do that. I try to actively do that every day.
Like I said, I was able to find information about you on in my research, particularly on the internet, which shows that you are established. I see you've been covered by news outlets, you've been covered by esteemed journalists and everything else. what you, and then you studied in Georgia, Savannah, college of Art and Design in Savannah. What was your college experience like, and what big lessons you take away from that, and has that really, being there and being in an international environment, helped to really hone your skills, your outlook, and all that good stuff?
It was pretty interesting for me. First of all, it was a pretty interesting experience for me because I was in an international college. You know, there weren't many colored or black folk in my school, so I was in a minority in a town that was majority black.
Right.
You know, very wealthy school.
Yeah.
So it gave me an outlet to see persons and cultures from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I developed more of a sensibility towards other people, you know, other cultures. You know, not everybody's going to talk like you or believe the same things that you believe in, and you can't just scoff and make up your face and say, oh, you're stupid or you're an idiot or you're not smart because you don't feel the same way or think the same way. So it sort of prepared me and catapulted me in the direction that my work is going in right now, where I delve into societies, situations, histories, cultures, you know, and I try to understand people historically and present day, you know, the contemporary circumstances and the effects of history on these mindsets, you know, on these cultures. And so, like I say, I think that way of thinking was really birthed through that college experience.
So it seems from what you're telling me, you always had a very active, imaginative, curious mind. And as you began to have international experience, I would imagine that flourished more.
Yeah, see, creativity isn't something that's always just there. You have to practice it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to practice seeing things, seeing beyond things, you know. Not everything is going to come natural.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't realize that you just don't have people or you just a genius. You have some people like that, but creativity is something that you could actually practice. You know, just like singing, people have to train their voices.
Right.
You could have the gift of singing, but if you practice, you could take your voice a couple of octaves higher.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to train yourself. Just got to keep pushing the envelope.
Upon graduating, you worked in the States for 1 year?
Yeah, I taught.
Okay, and then you decided to come back here?
Well, I was working on my OPT, which allows you to work in the States for 1 year, legally.
Okay.
And so I decided, you know, afterward, to me it wasn't worth it.
Right.
I decided to come back home and really see what home had to offer, you know. So
also see what you could contribute to home.
Yeah, and what home could also contribute to me.
Right. Oh yes, right. You, all right. Okay, so you came home, and then what?
I came home, and during the time that I came home, it was when there was all this tension about the war in Iraq.
Yeah.
You know, so I was just writing down my thoughts on these different socio-political situations unfolding.
Right.
And it turned into a proposal, and the proposal turned into a project.
Is this where you did the? Is this where you embarked on that travel project that you called the Human Universal Experience?
Yeah,
where you travel all over the world and you try to get an understanding and compare Bahamas and the world?
Not necessarily compare the Bahamas and the world, but really understand people, cultures, histories, and the connections.
Right.
You know, because history is more of a cycle than a linear, you know, sort of thing. Most people think, oh, this happened in 1980. And this is 2016. History tends to repeat itself, you know. So it's just same script, different time.
Yeah. So having traveled and seeing all of that, what in the Bahamas that you made you say, okay, this is unique in the Bahamas, or this is similar to how people in other parts of the world function?
Well, you could look at the Bahamas and say that the Bahamas is the birthplace of the New World.
Yeah.
You know, we take that for granted a lot of times. I don't know if I should say we take it for granted, but I think we overlook that a lot of times, that part of our history, even though it's sort of tragic.
Right.
You know, and that's one thing, like you could see us from space. You know, so we are physically beautiful. Our culture is beautiful. We have people who have been transplanted from different places around the world, from Africa, many different places.
Yeah.
We had a whole group of people who just died, you know, the Lakayans, you know, so this place was always a place that was like a refuge, you know, it was a paradise, it was a escape, you know, and so I think that's what the Bahamas has to offer, but it's the beauty. We have to really acknowledge what it is that we have.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something else that the Bahamas are. You know, it's not necessarily here for one group of people.
Right.
You know, it's like historically you see groups of people come, or they die out, or they get killed out. You know, and so
You seem to have more historical knowledge. I mean, yeah, historical knowledge about our development as a nation than the average Bahamian.
well, I don't know. I've never taken a poll on the average Bahamian.
I mean, that's
Understanding, but-
that's my opinion, and
Yeah.
that's what it seems like to me. So, history, having been in this course that I'm in right now, and looking at your story, for me it has whet my appetite more to learn more about my history, which I can tell you I feel like I don't know enough on.
Just read,
Yeah, definitely read.
listen, because not everything is written,
Right.
and a lot of times what is written is inaccurate.
Who are your historical, I mean your cultural or musical, artistic influences in this country right now?
In the Bahamas,
Yeah.
I would say definitely Jackson Burnside,
Oh, okay.
Stan Burnside, Brent Malone, Amos Ferguson, Gail Saunders, Michael Bentard, so many.
Yeah.
Jeannie Thompson, Cleo Zadali, Jawan Calendar. These are people I actually work with as well.
Right.
But I mean, these are people who actually touch on culture, they touch on history, and not only have they touched on it, but they continue, you know, to take that to the world. You know, I admire what John Canoe does, you know, for everybody else around the world who experiences it, you know, and so collectively I would say that I admire the Bahamians, you know, for their creativity, because we could have a lot of strife going on, we could have a lot of misunderstandings, but during that time, I shouldn't even say during that time, because it is a long process. John Canoe isn't just one day. That's when you get to see it, you know, as a spectator. But this whole process where you come together and you work, even though you're working in harmony or cacophony, whatever you want to call it, but you work together and then you create these things that are amazing and beautiful out of basically trash, you know? And so that speaks a lot about our people. Like, we have the ability to turn, you know, to spin that straw into gold.
Yeah. So I know you need to leave real soon. So I must talk about your HMBS Flamingo project. I think you won the Bahamian High Court Award for that in 2014.
Yeah.
2014. So very proud moment for you.
Thank you.
And you worked hard on that. I can see from the pictures that I've seen. It was very emotionally provoking, especially if you're listening to classic music while you're looking at the pictures.
Yeah.
Which you should do when you display it again.
Yeah.
So that. What am I saying now? What do you have to say about that?
HMBS Flamingo. I think the beauty of that.
First, no. Actually, my question was, I look at that and I imagine the complex talent and the intricacies involved in depicting something so skilled and accurately like that. Do you have any sort of, in studying international brilliant minds, I see that they tend to have this, like a spiritual practice, or they meditate, or they do something to get them in that zone. Like Isabel Allende, one of the great Latin American writers, she says she lets the spirits come in. Do you have any sort of spiritual practice that you got to get into to give yourself completely to your work?
Well, I mean, I think life is a spiritual practice. You know, some people have to do other things. I just like to experience life for what it is. You know, and if you are really into what you're doing, like any and everything becomes sort of inspiration. You know, you start to see the world from a different perspective, and all of a sudden, all of these things
Right.
start to connect. You know, and that's where the real creativity comes in, because it's from your perspective. Everybody has eyes, but not everybody has the same vision. You see what I'm saying? So you could give two people the same thing, and they'll come up with two completely different things. And that's why history painting, some people say, okay, if I paint something that has an historic theme, it's history painting. Yeah, kind of, sort of. But what I do and what I've done was, I didn't paint something, or I didn't take a photograph of something, or I didn't recreate something that happened.
Yeah.
You know, what I did was I unearthed something that
Right.
wasn't written about, that had inaccuracies in the historical archives. You know, so what I did was sort of historical research in an art form. A lot of people don't realize that. They think it's just, okay, I listened to a story and I painted it. First of all, it's sort of like forensic science. You have to listen to like 20 different perspectives from 30 years ago, you know, and then you have to piece it back together. You have to read all of these newspapers, all this archival information. Then you have to figure out, okay, who's embellishing, who's telling the truth, you know, what really happened. And then you have to sort of deconstruct it,
Yeah.
reconstruct it, and then you have to export that in a way that's sensitive and responsible. And that's not a real easy task. Now you could always just go and paint a boat on fire. That's not the same thing.
Right.
You know, what side of the boat is on fire? What position was the boat in? You got to work out the logistics. It has to be historically accurate for me, to the point where if you study the painting, you could actually get the facts.
Yes.
You know, without somebody having to type it out in the paragraph. A child should be able to come up and say, the boat was bombed 3 times at the rear on the right side of the boat.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who speaks Spanish should be able to tell you the same thing. Spanish,
Right.
Italian, Swahili, you know, so that's the beauty of art. It surpasses a lot of these boundaries and barriers, and that is my intention with my art. Not only my art, the mark making, but the impressions made on psyches, you know, and on societies, the cultural mindset. You know, I don't want to just paint pictures that everybody knows about, because if you have a picture of it already, then why should I create another picture? It could be more thought-provoking, but for me, I think what I have to contribute is the ability to, like I say, dissect and put these things back together, and hopefully I do that in a way that's responsible enough, where it's really ingested by the viewer and they can experience it for what it was, you know.
That's deep. That's powerful. Powerful, important words. Do you have time for 3 more questions? No?
Maybe 2.
Okay, 2. Okay. I see art as being an artist here in the Bahamas as a, like you say, very unconventional, almost rebellious type of pursuit. Like you say, our mindset is get your government job, get a mortgage, and go die, and all of that. Is this a lucrative endeavor in the Bahamas?
It could be. It has been for some
Pay
artists.
attention, struggling artists.
It has been very lucrative,
Yeah.
actually, for a few artists. It's just how you position yourself.
Right.
You know, it's how serious you are about what you do,
Right.
and how innovative you are. You know, there's no rules to art.
Okay.
So it is what you make it to be.
Okay. And are you currently working on anything right now?
Yeah, I'm actually working on a few other international projects that I can't really speak
Under
about
the
right
cover,
now.
right?
Yeah.
Under the cover.
But I could tell you that my work usually takes a lot of years in research, and you know, so when it finally does manifest, it's, you know, it isn't something frivolous. You know, it's been
So
in the oven for a
in
while.
the next 5-10 years, you see yourself pretty much just having more of your works created and sealed and delivered and done, or you see an art school.
I
Do you
could see.
Do you see yourself building an art school or something like that?
I wouldn't mind building
Yeah.
an institution. I don't know if
Right.
it'd be a school. I wouldn't mind eventually being a professor.
Right.
I taught before.
Okay.
You know, because I feel after you've done so much, is is sort of like a rite of passage
Yeah.
to pass that knowledge
yeah,
along. If you have the ability to actually reach out to people.
The future University of the Bahamas definitely needs some new professors, so please
Yeah.
do come.
Yeah,
Yes.
should need it for real.
Right, yeah, we really could use that. And finally, what's your dream for our country? What do you dream? Like I dream of more opportunities for our talent to grow and flourish, because there's a lot of talent here. So I'm not sure.
My dream
Yeah.
for the Bahamas is for us to actually be able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, for us to stop really feeling that we have to have foreign endorsement.
Yes.
I feel as though I want to be in a place where we endorse ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I thought, that's one of the ways that I thought my project was successful, because it was by Bahamians, for Bahamians, funded by Bahamians, supported by Bahamians. You know, and so that made me proud, and it happened during the 40th anniversary, you know, on basically a historic situation that happened on the first year.
Yeah.
Actually, no, not the first year, but the first year of the establishment of the Defense Force. You know, so it was significant to our independence. You know, so I really want to see us get to the point where we realize who we are, we mature mentally, spiritually, where we get to the point where education is taken a lot more seriously, like you say, the University of the Bahamas.
Yeah.
I hope they respect that and don't just see it as another title to make it sound more prestigious, but actually follow through with action. You know,
The
like the
title
University of the
waterfall,
West Indies, like
Yeah.
you know, they
Yeah.
actually hold themselves to a
Yes.
certain standard, you know?
Yes.
Like, I want us to take education more seriously. I want us to take entrepreneurship more seriously, art more seriously, you know, and just respecting ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, our culture should be a lot more than just drinking every holiday. You know, we have a lot to celebrate. We have a lot to acknowledge. And I feel as though a lot of times we just spend it drinking and then pissing it back out after we spend all our money that we don't have.
Yeah.
You know, so
That money can go towards our building, investing in us.
yeah, when you look at, let's say, communist Cuba, like, you sense the culture, you feel the culture.
Absolutely.
You don't necessarily have that feeling over here. You know, it's been lost.
No.
So
It looks like it's really losing itself.
yeah, we could regain it, but like I say, it's education. You know, some people would say indoctrination.
Yeah.
But you got to do something. You have to let the people know who they are.
Yeah.
If you don't know who you are, you don't know what to celebrate, who to celebrate, how to celebrate.
Yeah.
You know, and then your children never know who they are. It's like not knowing who your parents are. You know, somebody could adopt you, but you still need to know. You need to know, okay, what is my health history? You know, what do I have to look out for? What am I good at? Do I come from a family of singers? You know, do I come from a family of artists, scientists?
Yeah.
These are things that you might not see in yourself, but if everybody else in your family is a scientist, do the one. You have what it takes to be a
Very interesting you said that, because
scientist.
for this class we have to do a family tree, so we need to know
Yeah.
where we come from.
Yeah, it's important.
So,
It's
yeah.
important. Just like how your family is just with murderers. You know, your family is scientists, singers, politicians,
Right.
doctors.
Right.
Because that's in your blood. It's in
Yeah.
your genetics.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's important. So just like our heritage, we have to know where we came from. You know, because we're strong. Definitely. When you look at the Olympics and everything else, you don't even have 1 million people would be able to accomplish all of this stuff.
Exactly.
So
Speaks volumes.
yeah, you have to know your roots. You know?
Well, Mr. Kishan Munroe, I want to thank you for collaborating with me to make this interview happen, for taking time. I can see you're very extremely active, productive, and busy. So I appreciate that you could be here to help a young struggling COB student like me get a good grade on this assignment. And I'm going to let my other classmates see it as well and make sure they learn from this, because you have a lot of wisdom and knowledge and intelligence to offer. And that is something I definitely appreciate.